be very difficult for parents in general. I would say probably single parents to make sure that they're not delegating or maybe passing on some of the trauma that they experience in their relationship onto their children. So is that something that you see with the women that you work with?
Yeah, the way I look at it is a son will see how his mother is allowing herself to be treated. Okay. So that's what he's learning. And that's how women will be treated. I mean, if his mother is allowing it, then he's gonna say, then I can probably do it too. I don't want to pigeonhole, the sons, but I think that's a huge reflection. So a mother and what she allows in relationship and how she handles herself in relationship is pretty much setting a foundation of what he can do and what is expected of him in a relationship. So I think that is, again, it's primarily up to her. So if she, let's say for example, is in a abusive relationship where she doesn't stand up for herself or she doesn't have a voice, a son is going to look at this and saying, well, that's just the way it is, and so I will become overbearing, I'll become overpowering, I may do this, I may not do this. And it's not cut in stone, but it's either you swing one way or you swing the other way. So I think that a mother has a responsibility to show her son how a woman needs to be treated and what a woman expects. But a woman can't do that if she hasn't done her own personal work and her value and her worth and so on and so forth. And it's not about becoming, a powerful old nag. You know, that's not what I'm talking about, or the one who always wears the pants in the family, like that kind of stuff. But just of her self-esteem and her self-worth and her value of who she is, then she can sort of send that message out to her sons that this I am the example of a real woman, and you will then look for someone who is also that. And you will notice if they are not. So if your mother stood up for herself, or she had a voice, but she was compassionate, she was loving, she was caring, she was all of that, the son will probably want to gravitate to a woman who is similar in those traits. If
So
that
it seems no, like so it seems like the responsibility would be on the parent to set a good example. And I know it can be like difficult, right? Because they're busy and there's many times where they're like, well, you know what? This is what you should look for, X, Y, and Z. I may not be that, Melanie, right?
Well, I think we got
But
to
you better
stop
bring, right? But you
pointing.
better bring home someone that's like that, because if you bring home a girl or a guy that's crazy, I may have to do something to them.
Yeah, but the apple doesn't fall from the tree, and the old saying, monkey see, monkey do, like if you're just pointing, it's like, parents having a cigarette in their mouth and telling their kids not to smoke. Like, come on. Like if you're not going to be the living example and you're just pointing it out, it's like kids are not going to see that. They're not. It's just lip service. It means nothing. So to say that, not enough time, I guess that's always a pet peeve. Like, when is the time? Make the time. This is important, get your act together so that if I look at the mothers, you have children and children are looking at you and this is what they see, and
Yeah.
this is the example. This is, you can't just point a finger, don't do this. Like, don't, don't do this, even though I'm doing it, you know? I mean, some
Remember,
won't.
no, go
Hmm?
ahead.
I
Go
was
ahead.
going
Go
to say
ahead.
some kids won't. I don't want to be like that. But trust me, okay? You can say all you want that you don't want to be like that. But sometimes in those moments when you're exhausted, you're tired, or you're whatever, oh my God, I'm just like my mother. Or oh my God, I'm just like my father. So even though you say it, there's still that imprinting is there, whether you like it or not. So that's the responsibility that mothers have for their sons. Yeah.
I've seen some people where they would say, it's interesting. Like you would ask them, would you want your child to bring home someone like you? And the answer is no. And I always found that somewhat interesting, sad, and funny at the same time. And here's why. It's sad because at least the parents are aware enough to know that there's something about them that they need to fix, which they wouldn't like for their child to have
Yes.
to go through. And it's funny in a way because it's kind of like saying that, oh, I know I'm the problem, but don't worry about me. You better bring you like you need to get on my level, right? You need to handle me. It's like you ever been to the zoo and you see like the zookeepers and they're handling the animals.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
similar to that. And it makes me kind of chuckle because I know the changes I went through, but it was a difficult conversation. And simply what I did was I stood in the mirror and I said, what is it that you like about yourself? And I said, Train, what is that you like about yourself? I said the things. What is it that you don't like? And I said the things. What is it that you're going to change?
yeah.
Right. But that takes courage to say that, especially if I'm thinking, okay, I've been at my job for 20 years. I may be late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I've been having relationships. They may not be healthy, but they not be successful. But it's like, you know what, Melanie? It doesn't matter how toxic I am. It doesn't matter how much pain I'm bringing to my children or maybe chaos to other people. There is always someone there to
Hmm.
say, yes, I will go on a date with you.
Hmm. Of course. Yeah, we mirror in what we are. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And that's an interesting thing because we had a workshop this morning and it was about our stories, and instead of being the victim of a relationship that's toxic or a victim of a relationship that doesn't work or they're not doing something right or they're doing this and they're doing that, they're doing it to me. This is not my problem. They have the problem. Okay. It's really hard sometimes, but it's the most enlightening thing is to realize that this is mirroring where you are. You're bringing this level of relationship in because this is where you are. And it may be that deep down underneath is a belief system that you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, or you're not lovable. And trust me, you will bring in someone who will show you what you believe you are. And that's the way it is. So this is what's the huge gift of looking at your relationships with that eye and saying, okay, this is a mirror. What am I doing? Where are my beliefs that have brought this in? What energy level am I living at that has brought this in? And it could be your energetics, it can be a whole bunch of stuff, but you are drawing it in. You are bringing it in. It's not about changing the relationship. If you don't change yourself, you're going to bring the same kind in, just in a different package. That's it. But it's going to be play out the same way all the time.
Why do you think that is difficult for some people to understand and then maybe make those changes?
Because we have a victim mentality. We like to blame. It's not me. I'm not responsible for any of this, and I think it's just a victim. It's easy to be a victim. I mean, in my mind, in my life, it's not easy. I think it's the most difficult thing to do is be a victim because you're powerless. But there's an easiness about it that you don't have to do any changing yourself. You don't have to look at yourself. You don't have to undo what is done. You don't have to change what you're doing. It's easy to be a victim, and then you can blame, and therefore you're not responsible. So that's a real easy way, but it's powerless. It's a powerless position to be in. So when you start recognizing that you're creating this through your energetics, through your belief systems, your stories about yourself, your stories about relationship, you are drawing this in to simply mirror what you're believing, what you're saying, your stories. You're doing it all yourself. You are doing it all yourself. And there's also someone who's very happy out there just to come forward and go, hey, we match. We totally match. You believe you're unworthy. I don't think you're, I'm anger at the world. I'm this. We're just like, we're totally matching. Let's just carry this story right out and prove it to the world. You know, it's insane. It really is. Although it's very painful. I do understand that. I mean, when you're in it, it's not beautiful. It's nothing to be laughed at because you really feel like you're suffering. You really do. But if you're listening, listeners, that you are doing this to yourself, if you really can understand it's your stories, your belief systems that are creating it, man, that's so powerful because then you can change it.